Now, if you live in Florida, you might have heard the story of Bessie Coleman. She was the first black female aviator to get her pilot license ever. If you didn't, don't worry, I did some digging. Let's get into it. Now, I gotta start this story off here, all right? So, Bessie was born in Texas, all right? And her parents were sharecroppers. So, when she was younger, she used to work the fields picking cotton and any other thing that her parents were growing at the time. Now, back in the 1890s, a lot of kids, especially black kids, didn't finish a lot of schooling. But her parents and the pastor at their church realized that Bessie was really smart. Like, really smart. Now, we're gonna fast forward a little bit because Bessie's father ended up moving to Oklahoma because he couldn't make any money in Texas, all right? So he left for work, but he left his family in Texas. Now, when Bessie got a little bit older, all right, she ended up moving to Chicago and working at her brother's barbershop doing manicures. But while she was working at this barbershop, a lot of the war veterans would come in and tell stories about flying airplanes. So she got kind of like interested in airplanes when she was working at this barbershop. Now here in America, all right, if you was black or a woman, you definitely wasn't getting no pilot license. You couldn't go to no pilot school. You couldn't learn how to be no aviator, nothing, all right? So a friend of hers ended up telling her, look, you might want to go overseas to study aviation. And that's exactly what she did. When she was in her mid-20s, she ended up going to Paris, France, all right? And going to one of the best aviator schools in the world. I would say the name, but I'm gonna butcher it. Now, seeing that she is black, when she went to this school, they gave her pretty much the worst plane probably that they had on the lot, all right? The plane was barely working, but she learned how to fly that plane. Now, when she graduated from this school and got her pilot license, she was the first black female to ever get a pilot license. But she also was mixed with Native American. Her grandparents were 100% Native Americans. Now, on top of that, she also got the title as being the first self-acclaimed Native American pilot. They gave her that title too. And look, I know a lot of y'all gonna be asking me, what does that even mean? I do not know. You're gonna have to Google it because I did and I read it and I still don't understand it. We're moving on. Now, when Bessie goes back to America, she's a superstar. Everybody knows about her. The first black female pilot, all kind of stuff, right? So she goes back to Chicago, all right? And realizes, look, ain't nobody hiring black pilots. So Bessie had to go to a plan B. She said, look, if I'm gonna make money or just be successful at being a pilot, all right, I'm gonna have to do stunts and I'm gonna have to impress people. And that's exactly what she did. Now, 6 months after she got into the United States back from France, all right, she ended up going to Europe to go into another school where they teach you how to, do tricks with the airplane. And just like she knew she would, she graduated with flying colors. But after she graduated, she ended up staying for another 6 weeks and training with the pilot one-on-one so she could better her skills. Now, as soon as Bessie got back to the States, and I'm talking soonest, okay? Soon as she got back to the States, she was invited to fly in her first aviation show as a stunt person. Now, the promoter of this thing, he's stoked. He's saying, look, we're gonna make this thing all about you. You're gonna be the best aviator. We're gonna put your name all everywhere. And I'm gonna be real with you, Bessie was a hit. People loved her, black and white. And that was big for Bessie because it was situations where Bessie was like, look, I'm not flying my plane for any segregated crowds. I want everybody to be able to see me do my stunts. And I'm gonna be real with you, they delivered because most of her crowds were mixed crowds. Now look, I know we doing this whole Black History thing, but I gotta say this lady was crazy. What is she doing? Now, over time, as she's doing all of these shows, she becomes like one of the best stunt plane people. I don't even know what the word is, but she's one of the best. And everybody is coming to see her do stunts. Now, I know a lot of y'all probably saying like, what this got to do with Florida? Well, I'm about to tell you, okay? Because Bessie had a tour down south, and one of the stops was in Orlando. And some friends of hers owned a church and said, look, you want to open up a school, Florida be the place to do it, all right? But you got to stay here and, work the area a little bit so people can get to know you. And that's exactly what she did. So she ended up opening up a beauty salon to raise money so she can buy another plane. Now, I got to put this in here. Her whole goal is to start her own institution to teach black kids how to fly planes, all right? Because nobody was doing that here in America. So that was her goal when she moved to Florida, was to open up her own school for black kids in aviation. So Bessie saved up enough money to buy another plane, but this plane was in Texas, okay? And some buddies of hers that worked on planes, they were like mechanics, all right, plane mechanics, all right, aviation mechanics. And they flew the plane from Texas to Florida where she was, and they had to make 4 emergency landings. Now, Bessie family and friends was like, hold up. You don't need to be flying that plane. But Bessie like, this what I do. I'm going to fly this plane. Now, when these mechanics finally putted this plane back to Florida, Bessie got in the plane and said, look, I'm trying to see what's going on. So she had the mechanic get in the plane to fly the plane so she could see what's going on. Now, I got to mention this, okay? In a couple of days after this day where they flying the plane, in a couple of days, she got a big event. And she's doing a new stunt at this event where she's going to act like she's crashing the plane and she's going to jump out of the plane with a parachute. That's what I got out of the article I read. But that sounds crazy. Now, 10 minutes after her and her mechanic took off, she goes to look over the edge of the plane, all right, to look at the terrain to see if she'll be able to do this stunt that she's planning to do. But in the midst of this happening, the plane that they were in took a nosedive and did a barrel spin, all right, immediately throwing her out of the plane because she took her seatbelt off to look over the side of the plane. Now, we all know nothing good is going to come out of that. She ended up passing away immediately. And the mechanic that was actually flying the plane, he was trying to get control of the plane, but the plane ended up crashing into the ground, and he also died. Now, when this happened, news spread quick. Every media outlet put the word out there that this happened. It reached all the way back to Chicago, all right? And the thing about it is, like I said, she was very, very popular, okay? So when it came down to her funeral, tens of thousands of people showed up to pay their respects. And do y'all remember a while ago, not too long ago, where they did the famous Women of America quarters? She had a quarter, right? And here it is, right here, the Bessie Coleman quarter. I remember this series, but I did not see this quarter. If you got one of these quarters or seen this quarter, put it in the comments. Now, I also got to say this. If you live in the Orlando area, the Paramore area, there's a street named after Bessie Coleman, all right? So if you see this street, it's named after her. And I think this is a cool part of her story. This is her family, okay? They're still pushing that aviation dream, baby. Shout out to the Coleman family, all right? The more you know, peace.